Really what I want is when somebody asks the question, who's going to take care of you when you're older? You say, my plan with Childfree Trust help. Like, I got a plan. I got money set aside. I know what I want, and I got somebody to do it for me. That's the ultimate answer. Because people are like, well, I mean, you don't have kids. They're not going to, who's going to do it for you? I'm like, I'm just going to pay somebody. And the bonus of paying somebody is I can hold them accountable. They're highly regulated. Like, this is how we do it. And I've made the plan. They're executing.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, Certified Financial Planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners. What happens when you're going to look at long-term care and retirement and you have money so you can buy the best? That's what we're going to dive into today. The question is, if I have all the money in the world and I can do whatever I want in long-term care, how do I age in luxury? And I'm going to be real, this is not going to fit everybody, but for those that it does, it's a different way of looking at things. Because the challenge is when people look at long-term care, they're often looking at kind of the downsides of it, the not so nice facilities, relying on Medicaid, a few of those other things. And that is reality for many people. When you have a decent amount of assets, there are other choices, and that's what we're going to dive into. So Bree, where do you want to start?
Well, I think we should just start from the beginning. What exactly are we talking about?
Let's kind of think about this and say, all right, this question is, who's going to take care of you when you're older? And in some cases, it literally means them physically caring for you and taking care of you. And when people start with that, they often go, all right, I want to age at home. And the technical term is age in place, but the better term is age in the right place. So how do I bring in care into the right home for me to be able to do it safely? And I'm starting there because that is expensive. If you want to age in place and you want to have care 24/7, it gets pricey. It most likely is going to be more expensive than a skilled nursing facility. And there's no way to kind of scale up or down besides the number of hours you get for care. And if you're single and you need care 24/7, you're going to be paying for care 24/7. And the result is a rather hefty bill. Now, the good thing is you can choose, hey, do I want somebody that's like a nurse? Do I want just a caregiver? Do I want, somebody that cooks and cleans, whatever it is? But there's a wide variety. But then you also have to be comfortable with having random people in your house taking care of you. And I say that kind of like, well, some people want that, some people don't, but like, which thing you're more comfortable with? Random people in your house taking care of you or being in a random facility? So Bree, what do you think? You want people care for you in your house?
I think that's a whole lot of randoms we just said. I overall, though, prefer having somebody come into my home. And I think there is a point where, yes, there are random people, but you have to develop a relationship and a trust with them too. So I think it's a fine line of, if you've got to pick people to care for you no matter what. Just, you can do things to secure your property as well at home. Because is it really going to be any more secure at the nursing home? I don't know.
Well, I mean, it may be about property, it may also just be comfort, and what I recommend is when you have the assets, I want you to hire an aging care manager to help you with this. So an aging care manager is a nurse or social worker or someone in the healthcare field who's an expert in this. So they would be the ones helping to build the team for you. They're going to build that care team. And if there's a problem, they'll find a replacement. And I'll give you an example. This one's a couple of years ago now, but one of my colleagues had an aging care manager for her grandmother, and she got COVID. Well, the whole staff quit. Her grandmother had 24/7 care, but everybody quit when COVID hit. And the aging care manager had to put a whole new team into place, and she was able to do it within the same day. Like, that's what they do. They know the people, they know the caregivers, they know, you can work with services that do this too. But what I like is if you hire a aging care manager, that's somebody to represent you, who can fight for you and is your kind of point person.
Hey, Childfree Wealth listeners, it's Bree. I highly encourage you to schedule a Childfree Wealth checkup. During this time, you're going to get a couple of forms to fill out that include your life and financial plan. We'll review them, and then we're going to have a meeting and go through them with you. We're going to give you some advice and things to work on and talk through things to make your finances simpler so your life can be amazing. You can schedule yours by going to our website, childfreewealth.com, and clicking the Schedule Now button. Absolutely. I love the idea of having somebody there who has the contacts, has the connections to get people in and really help you, because it's going to be a lot easier for them to book all of that and figure it out versus you having to search down and look for different things that you might even not know where to look to begin, even.
Yep. And if you're going to bring care into your house, that's where you're talking about. You're going to actually have to run payroll unless you're paying a service. That's a balancing act. If you go through a service, they will take care of the payroll. You just write one check to them, but you get a little less control. So this is that balancing act. You want to hire somebody like an aging care manager to essentially manage the team and run a business. You can pick whoever you want, which gives you more flexibility. So remember, we're talking about if you've got the assets, you can do this. Like the extreme of this, and this is just kind of one of those fun ones on the research side, is when you have the big old yacht, you hire staff to be your stewardesses, your captain, your other things, your chef, but you hire nurses to live on the boat with you. Like, it literally is a way to do it. By the way, that's the most expensive way to do it. But like, if we're talking about if you've got the money and you want to have this in luxury, you can do it. And people joke about, but it is true. In many cases, it's cheaper to live on a cruise ship year round than it is to go to a skilled nursing facility, and you might get better care. The challenge there is if you're going to age in your home, you're going to have to do some type of repairs or adjustments to it to make it accessible, because very few homes are accessible by nature. That means, can you get around it in a wheelchair with a walker? Can you get around, do you have a ramp in and out? Do you have grab rails, things like that? And a lot of times people don't want to do that to their own facility, their own house. Like, it's a balancing act. The next option I like is they have these aging communities, and what they're technically called retirement communities, but there's a good example that I love recommending. It's called the Village on Moorhead. And what it is it's a high-end luxury apartment complex. So you get a 1, 2, 3 bedroom, but it comes with housekeeping, food, concierge, transportation, everything, so that all you have to do is pay one rent bill. What I like about that is everything's taken care of for you. And according to their data, now they don't provide healthcare, so they don't provide like nurses, but you can bring in help if you need to. What they found is because you're taking care of the basic needs, the housing, the food, all that. And by the way, I'm not talking like garbage food. I mean, like, this is like luxury, like one of them had a Michelin-starred chef. I mean, like, seriously. But because they're providing that, less than 5% of people actually have to leave for long-term care. And those people that have to leave are ones that would be in kind of like a locked facility or Alzheimer's dementia where there's a safety concern. So we're really talking about you could move into an apartment and be set for life. Now, mind you, it's expensive. You're talking 5, 6, 7 grand a month, but everything's included. What do you think of that option, Bree?
I love those options. The more you can get included, the easier you can make it, so you can go enjoy life and live a really good, active life throughout your later years, I think is fantastic. And it's a great option for people who are going, I still want to be able to live on my own. I don't want to have to worry about a nursing home, or try to avoid that as much as possible. I am all for these types of communities.
Yeah. And what we hear is the people that move to those types of communities, usually the answer is, hey, I wish I moved earlier, because it is a community. Like, you've got people, you're hanging out, you're doing events together, and you're all in that one apartment complex. Everybody's, kind of in the same boat. Everybody's got a little bit of money. Everybody's comfortable, off. So like, hey, we want to plan a trip together. We can do that. And you have people that can do that. Like, a lot of folks, when they're child free, are like, hey, I can't find friends. I'm like, well, you know what? Go into one of these communities and you've got ready built friends.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to connect with people. And you really have to put yourself out there and go to many things and be connected to people around you in order to build friends. And so if you've got a community kind of in place, it makes going out and doing the things to make friends a little bit easier.
Yeah. And while we're talking about the community and friends, the next option a lot of folks like to think about is a Golden Girls home. Hey, a whole bunch of friends living together and we're going to take care of each other. And I list that here on kind of like the side when you have a bit of money, because there's both kind of like, hey, we're a bunch of friends together. We don't have a lot of money, so we're going to take care of each other. And then there's the, hey, we have a lot of money and we're gonna live together. Like, for example, I had somebody who wanted to buy a castle, and each of the ladies would get their own room in the castle, and they would live in the castle as their Golden Girls home. I mean, I thought that's a little drafty, because most of those places weren't made for heating and AC. But all right, like, but there are ways to do that in intentional communities together with a bit more money, where you can have a bit more luxury. And now, if you're going to bring in that 24/7 care, they could care for more than one of you. Now, where the borderline is that between like a whole bunch of friends doing that together and like making your own healthcare facility, I have no clue, but it is an option.
Yeah, it's a great option to have multiple people kind of come together and do that. There's actually Sister Monica Claire. She is a nun, and she basically made that her retirement plan, becoming a nun. And it's all, I mean, that is the ultimate Golden Girls scenario. I don't know that I would become a nun, but I did think it was very interesting. And the more I thought about it, I was like, that kind of makes sense. Like, they all take care of each other forever.
Hey, I'm with it. Really what we're trying to do is get creative about ways to make systems that you enjoy, not just that you're like, oh, I hate this. And part of that is to figure out kind of what matters to you and what doesn't. One of the things I like about the villages on Moorhead is you're talking about luxury setups. Like, a lot of these facilities, when we talk about the apartments, are created by companies that run hotels, high-end hotels. And what they've realized is they can make a lot of money by saying, oh, this is a retirement community, adding all the amenities they would have in a hotel and just making it essentially an all-inclusive resort, which, that kind of works.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, there's even hotels now that are turning rooms into apartments. And so I can see where they are coming from and why they would do that.
Yeah, and people go, well, I want to buy a house and I want to live and die in that house. And I'm like, okay, but then you have to bring all the care, all the support into you. And I've done that with folks where they hire a professional chef to, come in and do the meals and whatever else. That's fine. But what if you can leverage a bigger system and then, you're not alone?
Mm-hmm. I love having that system in place there, because it can be, I've heard from so many people that it can be super lonely as they age, and they just want to have people around them and not be left on their own. They want to know somebody's there. They want to be able to talk to them when they want. They don't always want to have to talk to them, but sometimes just go out and talk to them when they would like. I'm a huge proponent, and if you've listened to the podcast before, comes as no surprise. I'm always going to be a huge proponent of community and having people around you to not only improve your health, both physically, but also socially, mentally, emotionally, all of those things.
Yep. So when talking about community, the kind of next setup is called a CCRC, or Continuing Care Retirement Community. And this is somewhat of a hybrid of one of those like apartment complexes or 55 and older communities and an assisted living or skilled nursing or memory care facility. And what's nice about these places, and there's a wide range of them, some of them have 5 or 10 year wait lists, so just be aware of that. But you're talking about a place and you go in, you join the 55 and older community to start. And then as you need care, there's an assisted living facility on site. There's usually a skilled nurse facility on site, may or may not be memory care on site. But what happens is you come in, and usually there's some combination between like a buy-in and some type of monthly fee. Sometimes it's just a monthly fee, kind of like a rent, but that fee is set for life. So they say, okay, for X amount per month, and it widely varies. I mean, it could be $2,000-3,000 a month to $5,000 or $10,000 a month. You get coverage, and whatever care you need from start to finish, it's done. And what these communities are doing is they're saying, all right, we don't know. Are you going to need memory care? Are you going to need whatever? They're taking a bet. And they're saying, on average, this is what we expect. And I hate to say it, but they're kind of hoping you never use the care. But if you do, it's the same price. But for you, what you get is a guaranteed price, and you just kind of move like over in the same facility. Like, I move from building A to building B as I need it. And if you're in a couple, it's even possible to kind of split care and do different things, but you're all on the same campus. And now you've gotten used to the people there. Once again, it provides food and transportation and all that. And there's a wide variety. I was reading about one. It's kind of like a hunting cabin. It's out in the middle of freaking nowhere. It's a, kind of nature preserve type setup. And you're out in the woods having your best life. Now, mind you, this place was expensive, but that was a great way to do it. I mean, we're not talking about the cheap options here. What do you think, Brie?
That sounds intriguing. I'd kind of be into that, to be out in the middle of the woods and just have a community, and that's where I stay. I do question safety in the sense of, what if somebody does have one of the memory disorders and then wanders off in the woods? Like, what are we doing there for safety? That makes me slightly concerned, because I remember, residents used to escape from the nursing home when my grandparents were in there.
Well, that depends on the level of care there's there. And some of those places don't have kind of a locked memory care, and that's a different question, what level. But where I'm going is, you don't think about, hey, I'm going to go live in a lodge in the middle of the woods as my skilled nursing facility. But that is what they are. Like, they've got the 55 and older community, they got the assisted living, and then they've got the skilled nursing all there in the middle of freaking nowhere in this beautiful area.
I love it. It does sound very intriguing.
And where I'm going is, you can pick which environment you want to do this in. So there's these continuing care retirement communities, huge business. They make a boatload of money. There's a whole way of how you assess them, and we can help you through kind of looking at them, because you're making a lifetime commitment. You want to know, are they still going to be there for you 20 years from now? All that. The good ones do have a wait list. So I have a client who's been on a wait list forever. And what she does, she pays every year to be on the wait list. They call her once a year and like, hey, you ready to come in? Nope. Okay. I'll keep you at the top of the list. I'll call you next year. Call me when you need it. And it's worth it to be on these lists. And sometimes it's like 5, 10K to get on the lists, but you're kind of staking out a spot in the nicest place you can find for when you're ready.
Yeah, I always encourage people to get on those wait lists. If they've got some place that they are interested in, is get on the wait list, see what you can do. Some places will allow you to lock in your rate too. If you purchase now, that's a conversation I like to have with clients. Does it make sense for you to lock in your rate now? Particularly if you know you want to live there, maybe you don't need the top level of care, but you want to go there at a certain point. It might make sense to lock in some of those rates too.
Yeah. And some of them you can essentially buy in, you're like buying your space, and the monthly amount now is more kind of like I'm going to call it like a resort fee, like, no, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it's like that.
And there are others you pay rent. And I was just having a conversation with somebody online, and they were like, hey, I looked at these 55 and older communities, and it was $2,800 a month. I can't afford that on my Social Security. And I'm like, first of all, some of these places are not intended for you to pay for just by Social Security. Like, the point is, you get to pick the level of care based upon the amount of money you have. But $2,800 a month for a CCRC, that's not crazy. That's kind of average-ish. Like, I'm like not seeing an issue, but it's a sticker shock if you're living on a fixed income just on Social Security. Like, it's not an option.
Exactly. And that's part of the reason when we're talking with clients, especially if they're in the accumulation phase, I'm saying, let's go look at some possibilities of what that cost is, because you might have an idea of you can live on a certain amount. Part of the reason we go back to the 25 times your expenses doesn't necessarily make sense, because they're avoiding that long-term care cost. These facilities are going to cost more. And if you want good care, you're going to have to plan for that and do a little bit of looking ahead.
Yeah, you're not paying for these on Medicaid, Social Security. I'm just calling that out, like, not happening. It is, I'm just being transparent. It is a have and have nots. It just is. This is one of those areas where net worth disparities, more than income disparities, pop out. And my thing is, okay, if you've worked hard, if you've saved, if you've, put your money aside for this, then that's your money to spend for your care however you want. Like my grandmother needed care, and she just did not do well in facilities. So we decided to do 24/7 care in her house. And somebody did the math. I was like, well, all of her money's going to go to that. I'm like, yes, it is. Just yes. They're like, well, that's the inheritance. I'm like, yep. And it's all going to her care. Like, just kind of how it working. And it's interesting because then people are like, well, and I'm like, no, that's her money. And luckily her money and her ran out about the same time. Like, that is one of those problems, but you have to do some planning. And when you talk about paying for this, a couple things on this. If you have long-term care insurance, It may, and in many cases it will, pay for in-home care. It may or will pay for kind of these CCRCs. The apartment complexes are a little weird because those are mostly just about housing. So long-term care insurance is going to pay when you have some types of activities of daily living that you have issues with. So it'll pay for like any care you have to bring in. It may pay for a portion. When it comes to CCRCs, they give you a sheet that says, look, this percentage or this amount is a medical expense. The other stuff is not. Well, that medical expense, that is what you can write off your taxes. That is also what the long-term care insurance may pay for. And it depends on your policy. So really, when we're talking about, hey, I'm going to pay out of pocket for this stuff, long-term care insurance is not my first go-to. There are some of the annuities that will do this. They're a little more flexible on what you pay for. But we're really talking about, I'm going to use my investments and my money to pay for it. Where people go, hey, I sell my house, I use that to buy into the CCRC, and then I pay that ongoing fee. It's not these options I'm talking about because they're nicer. There tend to be some combination between both medical costs and housing and just life costs. You end up not being able to use kind of the medical options or the insurance options to pay for them.
And another portion that goes along with that is I've seen multiple facilities who they will have some sort of life care where once you buy in, and if you've been there for a certain amount, if you run out of money, they'll continue to take care of you because there's been funds set aside in other ways to then care for people who have run out of money. But you have to be in those facilities prior to typically any sort of memory decline. Sometimes the ADLs, you have to be in their lower levels, essentially, of independent living or assisted living before you can get in there. It just depends. It's really important to look at a few facilities, see what they offer, because that might be something to give you a fallback. When you said your grandma ran out of money about the same time she passed, that's lucky in the sense of you didn't have to worry too much about spending money for other things, but you want to be careful of will a facility keep you in the event you do run out of money.
Yeah, and that's where the CCRCs fit well. So a couple of things on that. They're not going to accept everybody. So if you're like, hey, I need assisted living and I'm going to move into CCRC now, they may say no because they're looking for hey, I charge whatever it is, $5,000 a month. I'm just going to use that number. And by the way, it varies widely across the country. So I charge $5,000 a month. The CCRC is hoping that you do a bunch of years of that in your 55 and older community where they're making huge profit on that. And then you do a few years in assisted living where they make a little profit. And then you do like 6 or 9 months in the skilled nursing where they actually lose money on it. Like that's kind of the math equation is how that works. So they want to make sure that's kind of the path you're going to follow. In the ideal world, about a third of folks just die in their sleep and never need long-term care. They hope you go into the 55 and older community, die in your sleep, and they never move up. I hate to be so kind of blasé about it, but like this is the reality. It's a business. So they're going to want you in there. So you need to get in when you're healthy and then take advantage of it. Now, what many of the facilities is, and this is what Bree was alluding to, is look, you've been with us for 5, 10, 15 years. You run out of money. You end up on Medicaid. They don't technically take Medicaid patients off the street, but they may have like 4 beds where they're like, we'll take Medicaid for this because they've been paying us for 10 years. So part of that agreement is like, if you've been paying for X amount of time, we'll take care of you. Like, and that's one of those kind of balancing acts that people don't think about is you make a commitment to a facility. Often they'll make a commitment to you. So you go in this nice facility, you've paid for 10 years, you paid a lot of money for 10 years. Now you're on Medicaid. Technically, Medicaid's paying 30 cents on the dollar. They're still willing to give you that high level of care because you've already paid in $1 million or whatever else it is. They're like, yeah, we'll keep you.
Yep. And I think there's something to be said for that of making sure you're aware of whether or not that is the case for you. Because I don't know what you do if you're in a facility that doesn't keep you and you're at that point.
Actually, here's what happens. You get kicked to the street. Now, I'm saying that kind of tongue in cheek, but that kind of is what they're doing. They're like, okay, you're running out of money. I've got, some of the facilities will flat out tell you this. We will not keep you if. Okay, that signing up. And what they'll do is they'll go, hey, you got whatever, 3 to 6 months, go find somewhere else. And that's where you have to have backup plan. And that's where you're going to Medicaid service. And I'm telling you, if you're jumping from, hey, I've been in this really nice facility to I'm in any Medicaid bed that covers, you're talking about night and day coverage. Like that's where your plan has fallen apart.
Exactly. And just even the ability for you to make decisions at that point might be not necessarily there, depending on the situation. So that is what just makes me want to cringe and just hurts my heart too.
So in addition to this question of like long-term care or the facilities, the other thing you need to think about is who's actually going to make the decisions for you. And when you have the money, you can pay for a professional to do this. We're launching a service later this year we call Childfree Trust. That service is we've partnered with a trust company called Trust, and we are going to serve as child-free folks, medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, executor, and trustee. So we will actually make the decisions for you. And the bonus of that is you are paying a trust company, which is a fiduciary. A trust company is essentially a bank that does not take deposits. And you're paying that professional to do that management of your finances, your medical, and your trust and your executor, which is like, hey, everything about your life, they're managing. Now, what that means is they manage the aging care manager for you. They manage your investments for you. But you set out the plan. You say, this is what I want, and then they execute it for you. The bonus is when you've got the money to do it, you can pay a professional to do this, and you don't have to worry about it. I was working with a couple, and they're a husband and wife, and the husband had managed most of the finances all life. And he's like, look, when I pass, I want somebody to manage this for my wife because I've managed it for her entire life. I want somebody to manage it for her going forward. She's good with that. Well, then you can choose at what point, hey, I want you to step in and do this for me. There is a cost for that. Childfree Trust, when we launch, we're going to start at $99 a month. So that covers your membership with us, which includes all your estate planning documents, your care documents, 24/7 response. And then when you go into care and you need somebody to act as your power of attorney or executor or trustee, there's an hourly charge. It's $275 an hour. Now, that might sound like a little or a lot, depending on how you look at it. But the bonus is you just don't have to worry about it. Like, hey, I'm in a nice facility. I got somebody taking care of me. They make the decisions for me. They're worried about paying my bills and all that. And all I do is, hey, I need some money for travel, put it in an account for me. Like there's a bonus to that because in that example, that husband and wife, hey, the wife could absolutely do it all, could learn to do it all. Or they could go, I trust this professional to do it for me and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I love hiring a professional and I'm so excited that this option is like now one we can talk about too. This is just makes me so tickled pink, like to actually be able to talk about this publicly. Hey listeners, like what you're hearing? Don't miss a thing. Sign up for the Childfree Wealth newsletter for weekly tips, tools, and podcast updates. Head to childfreewealth.com/newsletter to get on the list.
Yeah, and Bree's been with me for quite a while. I've been working on this for like 3 years, and it's finally coming out in the fall of 2025. You can go to childfreetrust.com. You can sign up, get on our wait list. But it's one of those, it's been a real challenge to create because really what I want is when somebody asks the question, who's going to take care of you when you're older? You say, my plan with Childfree Trust help. And that's to me like, yep, done. Like I got a plan. I got money set aside. I know what I want. And I got somebody to do it for me. That's the ultimate answer. Because people are like, well, I mean, you don't have kids. They're not going to, who's going to do it for you? I'm like, I'm just going to pay somebody. Like, and the bonus of paying somebody is I can hold them accountable. They're highly regulated. Like, this is how we do it. And I've made the plan. They're executing. The other one, and I'm kind of add in there, if you're like, hey, well, where do I start to write a plan? Well, Childfree Wealth can help you on the financial plan, the life plan, all of that. And we can help you create, how do you pay for this? We're saying, well, how do I create the care plan? There's a company out there I love. It's called Care Ally. What they do is help create care plans. Well, then you take your life and financial plan, you upload it into Childfree Trust. You take your care plan, you upload it into Childfree Trust. You're like, yep, got all my documents done. Set it, forget it, and it goes. That's what we're talking about. And that's what you get when you plan well, when you have the money to do it, where you don't look at your long-term care and go, oh, I'm worried about this. No, you go, I got it. I'm good. And I'm going to go enjoy it. And I'm going to go live in this lodge in the middle of the woods and have fun. Like, that's the difference. And that's what you can do when you're living a life of child-free wealth and you have a plan.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available, or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.